I'm Tara Audibert, and you're listening to the True North Country Comics podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. If you want to drop me a line, you can contact me at john@truenorthcountrycomics.com. On this episode, I chat with Tara Audibert about illustrating the Jojo Makoons graphic novel series. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. It's also available on the True North Country Comics channel on YouTube. I invite you to like and subscribe. Tara of Wolastoqey French heritage is a multidisciplinary artist, filmmaker, cartoonist, and podcaster residing in sunny corner, New Brunswick. She owns and runs Moxie Fox Studio, where she creates her award-winning works, including the animated short film The Importance of Dreaming, comics This Place, 150 Years Retold, and Lost Innocence, and Nightap, Legends of the First Nations, an animated storytelling app. Her current project is a Jojo Makoons series with author Don Quigley. The series from HarperCollins Publishers is described as Jojo Makoons Azure is a spirited 7-year-old who moves through the world a little differently than anyone else on her Ojibwe reservation. It always seems like her mom, her kokum, grandma, and her teacher have a lot to learn about how good Jojo is at cleaning up, what makes a good rhyme, and what it means to be friendly. And so, without further ado, here's my chat with Tara Audibert about illustrating the Jojo Makoons graphic novel series and more. So, Tara Audibert, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
I appreciate your time. What I usually do to start off the interview is ask the creator about their first comic book. So I'm wondering if you remember, what was the first comic book that you read?
For sure. This is probably weird and probably something that no one else is going to say, but my dad actually brought home, or found, I'm not sure, this comic that was about St. Francis of Assisi. And I think it was like kind of like, a way that, comics were trying to get these kind of like religious messages out to children and, try to get more kids interested in the Bible and stuff.
Sure.
So it was a little bit weird, but I just thought that was the coolest thing that my dad could have done to try to interest us. Like, can you imagine? Like, that's something like, here's this comic. And it was for my brother and I. It was very cool. St. Francis of Assisi's very cool guy. He was like super into animals and stuff. And me too, lover of children. And I think that's something that's both of those things are incorporated into my work.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I remember Marvel had John Paul II in a comic book.
Yes,
That was very popular, I know. So
I'm glad my dad didn't find that one.
Yeah, well, there you go. So that's good stuff, as his first comic book. But I'm wondering, who or what inspires you to create today?
Geez, I just always had a love of art, for sure. And I wanted to be an artist from the time I was little. I guess I could draw maybe very well for a child or something, but everybody was like, this is great, blah, blah, blah. I just kind of always wanted to become an artist, but my parents were like, you're not going to make very much money doing that. You're going to be poor. You've heard of a starving artist and all this. And I was like, yeah, I've heard of a poor starving artist. And so instead I tried going into, other things, sciences and different other things where my true passion is art and creating art. And even when there was, no jobs, I kind of made up my own job, which is doing freelance art and doing my own stories. And right now, I guess my own art is inspired from my own stories. So I'm at the point now where I'm wanting to tell my own stories and, not just illustrate other people's stories or help them bring their ideas to life, but to bring my own ideas to life. So really right now, the artwork is supporting my own ideas, which is great.
Yeah, that is good. I was watching one of your earlier YouTube videos and you're glancing through your sketchbook, and it sort of reminded me a bit of The Secret of Kells, some of that illustrative work.
That is so awesome because, yes, they're definitely a huge influence. I was very influenced by Secret of Kells. A couple of different animations, Secret of Kells, Marvin the Martian, and I'm also going to say So the 101 Dalmatians.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
These are all three of these. They've got like kind of the sketchy feel that is not this super refined, even the 101 Dalmatians for a Disney film. It was when Xerox was first, coming about, and they were able to Xerox these penciled drawings that the artist had done and then able to take those to cells and color them. But some of the actual pencil is left in the film itself.
Right.
So when you watch it, that's one of the things I love about that film. One of the things I love about Secret of Kells, that they're taking that aspect in, and I try to incorporate that into my work as well.
Great.
I worked as a TV animator for a long time, and everything was very refined to the point where now it's kind of like, I think Picasso also did this as well, where his work was very refined and very realistic at the beginning of his career, and then it just got to, to go to the cubism and just, taking things at the very simplest level, and how can I express things with the least amount of lines, the least amount of colors, the least amount of drawings, so that it's still understandable and I'm communicating a message.
Yeah, that's cool. So we're here talking about one of your current projects called the Jojo Makoons series with Don Quigley. So I wonder if you could talk a wee bit about that, and congratulations on it. I know it's getting a lot of acclaim. So I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about the story and how you got involved in the project.
Well, it was I'm trying to think back when it started. I'm just finishing the second book, and it's a series of 3 with HarperCollins, but I believe they were looking for an Indigenous illustrator and someone who is female, and there are not a lot of us around. I haven't checked lately, but the last time I Googled, there was a weird list of 10 of us or something. And I was like, whoa, that's I'm hoping that there's more now. That would be awesome. And this was between all of North America. So Dawn had written that book, and I'm not sure if she was looking for someone specifically female as well, but they had liked my work from, I believe, my film, The Importance of Dreaming, and had wanted something along those lines, or just something that was kind of fun. And I was really, really interested in working on this because of the representation for, 1, little girls in literature, and 2, Indigenous little girls in literature. So I think it's a great, for me to be able to help with that representation. Something that maybe I didn't have when I was a kid. A lot of the representation was just, I'm trying to think of, for girls, there was She-Ra, mostly blonde, Barbie-like characters, I guess.
Right. So what is the story about? Is there a major theme that runs through all 3 books?
Well, JoJo is just a character. So it's basically kind of about her, and she has her Indigenous culture, and she's, taking that and going out into the world and school and to different things, and just seeing them kind of, I guess, with different eyes. So she's just kind of a little character and comes up and sees things in different ways than maybe would be the norm. In the first book, she is afraid that her friends don't like her anymore because they're not talking to her, but she's not going to talk to them, and it's just a different way of seeing a situation until she figures out that her friends are still her friends, and how she can also contribute, I guess, to friendship.
Can you walk me through the collaboration process with Dawn? How did you 2 work together?
Well, yeah, it's kind of weird because I'm here in New Brunswick in Canada, and she's in the States. Essentially, they're just kind of sending me scripts and sending me ideas. We had some phone meetings, which has kind of become the norm with COVID. So it was very normal for me, and I pretty much work from home in my home office. So a lot of the illustrations and the work that I'm doing, even before COVID, was, done this way too. So they're giving me ideas, and they had, some certain ideas for her to begin with. But essentially from that, I was, kind of deriving and thinking about even myself and maybe some of my cousins and nieces and nephews, for all of the kids in the story. There's her, and then her whole class, and the majority of the characters are Indigenous. So I was kind of relying on things in my own life to put that into her character as well.
And would it be like a back and forth type of thing? She would send you a script, you'd send an idea, and she would say, yes, let's go this way, or how would that
Yeah,
work?
well, it was actually kind of easy. I loved working with Dawn. I'd send off, for the most part, everything was just accepted. I just kind of was like, this is my idea, like send that off. And they're like, oh, this is amazing. This is awesome. And then come back and they're like, oh, well, these are some of our ideas for the sketches. But, maybe when I was reading the story, to me, there's certain different things that pop out and other things that I like to add. So she has a cat named Mimi, and that the cat's Mimi's always kind of doing some things in the background, or some funny little things that are also happening. So that as they're reading the book, it's a chapter book, so it's a little bit longer, that you have a little bit more to focus on. And the other thing that I added in was a lot of like Indigenous artwork in the background. So if she's in school or if she's in her house or different places, there's a lot of Indigenous art that I really enjoy creating and including in there. So it's like
Nice.
art and art.
I want to talk about another great work, This Place, 150 Years Retold. And I was saying to Brandon Mitchell in an interview the other day that still I keep reading that and finding new people to talk to and finding new inspiration from it. So it's a great book, and congratulations on being part of it.
Thank you so much. That was a huge thing. And I have had a lot of proposals for different comics and things, but I love working with Brandon, of course. We were working together for a number of years on a bunch of different projects. And he's the one who actually kind of got them to contact me because he wanted me to illustrate his comic. And then I was also able to illustrate a second comic in there. And, both of those are very meaningful stories. I am so glad that they have been told. All the comics in that book are just, I just think it's amazing that they were able to create this, compile them all together and create this and put it out. And the way that people have kind of accepted it is amazing. Yeah, just amazing.
Yeah, congratulations again. I'd like to switch gears a wee bit and talk about the tools you use to create your art. Can you talk me through the process? What tools do you use?
Well, I'm still coming from a traditional background of sketching and life drawing, and I only started using digital stuff maybe a couple of decades ago, but sketchbooks are my main place where I'm doing ideas, and I really like to have that physical pencil and paper first. So I'm doing a lot of different sketches and thumbnails and just seeing how things are going to look on a smaller scale, and then I take everything into the digital world after that. And I use a program called Adobe Animate. So I do that. I use it. It's an animation program. It's a vector-based program, so it'd be similar to something like an Illustrator. That's a program that other illustrators would use, but I use this animation program because it's just amazing. The vector base allows me to make things larger, smaller, and when I'm doing a lot of illustration work, a lot of times when you're illustrating, you're using a program called Photoshop. Hopefully I'm not talking too much above people's heads, but that's a program that's not vector-based. So everything is kind of, however large you make it at the start, that's kind of how big it can ever be ever. So sometimes when you're doing illustration work, think maybe they want something tiny at first, and then they're like, oh, that's a great image, let's blow that up. So awesomely for the program I use, when they do that and I blow it up, it all stays consistent, doesn't get blurry or anything like that. So it's kind of weird that it's an animation program that I use, but it works.
Do you find the digital makes it too refined? Like I know at the outset you were talking about having the free form, nothing that's too clean. Do you find
That's
the digital
true.
makes it too clean, do you think?
For my work, it's kind of weird because the program itself allows you to be slightly sketchy, and I can maintain that sketchiness in it. Whereas sometimes people are using vector-based programs and just I know exactly what you're saying. It's just, very straight lines and everything is refined and finite. But yeah, I'm able to go in and just, sketch and make stuff look very sketchy. So it's quite close without going into like a Photoshop where you can emulate different, like a charcoal or a pencil. Without going into that, it allows me to be sketchy enough. then
Okay,
I'm happy
cool.
with it, I guess.
Now, you mentioned you're also an animator, and you've got several examples on your website and your YouTube channel. Do you have a preference, though, for the type of art you create? Is there a specific medium that you prefer over the other?
Oh, that's good. Good question. Really, right now, I guess my main goal, I guess, is as a storyteller. So I'm really enjoying telling stories, and really the artwork is just kind of the support to those stories. So it's great to read stories, and of course, I love putting out blogs and different things like that. But to have something that's visual is just so much more when you're doing storytelling. So to have it visually in a comic, to have it visually in a book, and then to visually, even to move into something that's moving in terms of animation, all of these, like, I'm super into all of it. Right now, book illustrating is actually like kind of a fastest way to tell a story visually. If I guess if we're going by speed, comics would be second, and then animation third. Taking a much longer time to tell a story. For me, I just got finished doing a TV show, so books are seeming great as a way to slow down from that. So I like to have the ability of doing all three of these different kind of art forms, because at times, maybe I do want to go faster. Maybe at times I want to have that long project to tell this story in a way that is meaningful and that's going to last a really long time. And sometimes I think it's good to have stories that are just quick.
Sure. Now, you just hinted about a TV show you just finished. Anything you can say, or is that
I think I
undisclosed?
can talk about it. I'm not sure when.
Okay.
I don't have a air date yet, but I completed working on my first television show.
Wow,
So
congrats.
I was writer, producer, and director. It's going to be on APTN sometime this year. I'm thinking it's going to be in the fall lineup, and it's called Lil Glue Scub and the Legends of Turtle Island.
Congrats. That's great.
Thank you.
So now we just have to wait for it to come out. I know that
Yes.
animation, typically, you have to work months, if not years, in advance, and then finally the public will get to see it later. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
good
that's
stuff.
been about a 2-year project that's, finally coming to fruition.
Nice. Good stuff. I noticed on your website that you're also a yoga coach. So I wanted to ask you, does yoga help you with your creative process? Does it help you get centered to focus on the task of creating?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah, I am a yoga coach. I've been doing yoga for about 20 years, and I've been just coaching very recently. And that's kind of part of, I want to kind of pass on, some of the yoga and the ability that it has to kind of like just to make you calm, I guess. Doing animation, it sounds weird, but it's a very fast-paced, high-stress kind of job. Illustrating is not as high stress for sure, but doing these larger projects, you're working with more people, a lot of high stress. And I do yoga like on a daily basis. I try to do it first thing in the morning, and one of the things that it has helped me with is just to kind of get rid of the stuff that you don't have to do. So if you can think about things in the morning, or at least leave your mind blank, or allow some time before you start your day, you'll start to think of things that, or at least I do anyways, that you don't have to do, or at least maybe convince yourself that you don't really have to do them and let them go off of your plate. So it's a good way. It's, some people might call it meditating, or something like that. But I think just having a quiet time where you're doing a bit of movement, it's very awesome to, just kind of just figure out some things for sure.
That's good advice, for sure. Now, we've talked about a lot of different things you're working on and stuff that's out today and coming up, but do you have any other projects that are coming out that you can talk about?
I don't. It's right now is mainly the TV show, and then JoJo Makoons, the second book, Fancy Pants, will be coming out this year, and then I'm not sure what the third book is, but that'll be coming out the year after, and I don't even know what that one is. So exciting.
Cool. Good. Well, with all the stuff that you have on the go, where do you recommend that people go online and through social media to find about everything you're doing?
Oh yeah, if you check out MoxieFox, moxiefox.ca, and I'm also on Facebook, MoxieFox Studio, and Twitter and Instagram as Tara the MoxieFox.
Very good. Well, Tara, those are all the questions I have for you, but I'm wondering, is there something I didn't ask that you'd like to get across in this interview?
I guess just to say that, my main goal for everything I create, my storytelling and characters, I'm quite specific at this point in my life about the projects that I choose, but they're all towards creating Indigenous characters and bringing some of our Indigenous culture into the digital space. And I think it's very important. And I just hope that, there's going to be little boys, little girls that, unlike me, who didn't have these kind of, characters that looked like me or anything like that, that they're going to have that in their lives. And I hope that there's going to be, a ton more female Indigenous creators. Hurry up and get out there. I also have lots of projects and I need to hire Indigenous animators. Love working with Indigenous female artists as well. So we just need more.
Thanks to Tara for the chat. You can discover more about Tara on Twitter at Moxie Fox Studio, on Instagram at Tara_the_Moxie Fox, and online at moxiefox.ca. And thanks to you for listening to the True North Country Comics podcast. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to and like this podcast on Apple Podcasts. And please leave a good rating. Also check out the TrueNorthCountryComics.com website and follow along on Twitter at True North Comics. True North Country Comics is now on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to that video channel. And please send your feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. Thanks again for listening, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2022.